Get the Friendo Club set up today and get access to over 700 Going In Raw bonus episodes, our monthly Big Blue predictions challenges, and the ability to ask questions at Going In Raw. We also offer the Steven Larson comic book and exclusive Friendo Club t-shirt. Just hit join here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson to sign up. Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hell, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, we got the lowdown on AEW Dynamite on the road to Revolution. We've also got NXT with the contract signing of Ricky Saints. Gonna get our reactions to the new name for Ricky Starks here in just a moment. But first, Larson, oh boy, if you think Triple H's booking of the women in WWE is a bit lacking as of late, well, guess what? You're not the only one. Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful Select talked about frustration in the WWE's locker room over their booking in the lead up to WrestleMania on Fightful's The Hump on YouTube, and these transcripts come to you via PW Mania. And this is what Sean Ross Sapp had to say. Somebody asked about women's booking. I said, yes, I've spoken with plenty of women in WWE who are frustrated about the booking of the women. This is not a new thing. It's nowhere near Royal Rumble 2022 level. Royal Rumble 2022 was so bad that I developed sources because of how bad it was booked. This is nowhere near that. But there has been a situation where a women's WWE performer has reached out to me and said, dude, can you find out if I'm listed internally as a heel or babyface? And I'm like, damn, okay. He also said this about some proposed WrestleMania plans having been rejected. He says, I know there's been some Mania pitches that have been rejected because people are like, token tag matches aren't something that they want to do. They want things put on a more even plane in the women's division. Okay, well, the contracts are going up. Viewership is adjusted accordingly for when women are on screen. It's not the sideshow or anything like that. It's part of the show. You're adding more titles, add more matches, all that stuff. There's a lot of people that have been parked. For example, I'm not going to say Natalya is frustrated. They signed Natalya. They want to keep Natalya. They had creative plans for Natalya. And then what's Natalya done since? Hasn't done anything. Hasn't been on NXT. Hasn't been doing anything. This is something that we discussed earlier this week, Larson, about the current state of the women's division. There's an overall kind of malaise when it comes to WWE's creative. But, you know, I think the women probably have a lot of valid frustration here.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did talk extensively about WWE's creative state overall and how nothing really is that compelling right now on TV on our Hot Takes episode that went up yesterday, Wednesday.
Yes.
And we did spend a lot of time talking specifically about the women's division and the creative involving the talents there and how, for the most part, it's just there's so much room for improvement in terms of creative. Maggie is our champion. She posted a comment in that video mentioning, pointing out like A-Town Down, their story, how that's been going on, you know, arguably too long, but that's a story that's been unfolding over months in the undercard, and there's really not anything analogous to that in the women's division. One thing Triple H has done since taking over creative is, in a lot of respects, allow people to gain a better grasp of who their character is. And we could probably come up with several examples of that. Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan. One thing that isn't done as often, I feel like, in the women's division, as opposed to the men, is exploring the dynamics between characters. For example, Pure Fusion Collective. What did they say when they first debuted?
I mean, they're basically putting everybody on notice.
And what have they been saying since?
They're putting everybody on notice.
Yeah. That was the extent of their characterization. We never really got to explore the dynamics between Zoe and Shayna and Sonya. Now we won't, because Sonya is not coming back.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of areas that could really improve in terms of the creative in the women's division. High up there, I feel like, is just really exploring the dynamics between the characters you have up and down the card. That's one thing that's severely lacking.
You know, dude, it's all very true. I said this back when AEW started, and it was correct. You start out with, man, you got some ideas. You got a lot of ideas. And you implement those ideas, and everybody's like, wow, this is great. What happens when you got to do your second album, man? What happens when, you took the reins really with WrestleMania, with last year's WrestleMania, and that was your huge, your big moment. Well, as Triple H himself says, the story never ends.
Yeah.
The problem is when you've got so much programming and you're overseeing so much, and there's a video on social media of you micromanaging entrances. How about this? I know Triple H loves to do his entrances. I know he loves to get in there with Jacob Fatu, and he's like, and then you turn the camera this way, and then this is going to be happening. And we all know Penta has even said Triple H came up with all the entrance, right? How about this? I love a good entrance, but they're not that difficult to crack. How about the time you spend on telling Jacob Fatu where to look during his entrance? You spend that time on the laptop, click-clacking away at coming up with something more interesting for the women, and I'll be honest with you, for the men as well. Like, I get it, and it's totally justified because men are going to make up, the men's matches are probably going to make up like 75% of the card at WrestleMania. And the women are going to be relegated to some bullshit tag matches. I get it, and it's totally valid. That's an issue right there. But dude needs to come up with some more compelling shit. Like, what did the first episode of Raw on Netflix get? Like 5 million, something like that, they said?
Yeah.
Now it's like struggling to hit 2 million by those same metrics. And when you up Raw to 3 hours again, it had that nice 2-hour spell. When you add another hour to SmackDown, when you add 4 Saturday night main events to the schedule per year, you see what happens when you get quantity over quality. And here's going to be the thing, is that all these sellouts they're talking about, those are going to start being chipped away at. And all those high ticket prices they're able to sell now, those are going to start coming back down to earth a little bit because it's not as compelling as it was before. And he has done a much better job than Vince did when it came to like characters and whatnot. And last year was a killer year creatively. But like, you're also comparing it to a dog shit era of creative when it comes to Vince McMahon. And so, yeah, I think when you've seen what he could do back when Raw was on fire with, the Judgment Day saga, when you had Rhea and Priest actually doing good stuff, focused work, and you had over on SmackDown, the Bloodline killing it every single week, high standards are set. When you see what HBK does on NXT, which, if I'm not mistaken, is part of WWE, when you see what they could be doing with the women's division, it understandably leads people to think, you're dropping the ball, dude. You need to get on this. Maybe spend less time at some jackass confirmation hearing and maybe more time clickety-clack in that laptop and coming up with some better creative.
Yeah. And I'm happy to hear that people who are upset in the women's division are speaking up and saying, no, we don't just want to be included on the Mania card for the sake of being on the Mania card. We want the attention to our creative too. We want to be involved in interesting stories. We want to be involved in doing interesting character work. And as mentioned, yeah, Triple H, maybe less time doing some of this other garbage and focus more time on telling better stories up and down the card. Because you're right, if we get, because I feel like WWE to an extent is still carrying on the momentum it had of peak kind of like Bloodline era.
Yeah.
And, at a certain point, if we go months and TV is continually not that compelling, you're right. Some of the momentum they had is going to come to a halt. And we're going to see fewer full houses. And we're going to see ticket prices fall down. And that's going to get stockholders upset.
When's the last time we had a story beat that was like, oh, dang, The Royal Rumble was really good. That was earlier this month. That was the beginning of this month. There was some really good stuff going on, especially in the men's Rumble. I mean, the big complaint was like the women's Rumble did not have the same level of detail paid attention to when it came to the story beats.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of, evident proof in the pudding right there. But yeah, all those like week to week, how it was on SmackDown like last year. And in the build up to WrestleMania, and preceding that, yeah, man, it's not what it was. It's not what it was. You got Roman taking large swaths of time off, but no story that kind of fills that absence. No. Cody sort of goes, and Cody and Kevin Owens had a good thing for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like Cody's just going from feud to feud to feud to feud. So yeah, man, he's got to be booking moments along with, look, man, we all like good wrestling, but we need some moments. We need some story beats. That's the thing that WWE's supposed to do. It ain't where the best wrestle. That's the other place.
That's the other place.
And so, yeah, man, you got to focus on those moments.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree completely. You need the moments. You need the storytelling. You need the character development. And, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's, again, one of those situations where, especially of the last 6 months, it's like either stories take forever or they're rushed.
And one thing he was really good at before was giving us real character motivation. Charlotte just showing up on SmackDown and saying, I choose you.
Why?
What's the motivation? Why? What's the reason? You had something perfectly good set up with Rhea Ripley on Raw that was like, oh, dang, there's some meat there. How are you going to justify choosing anybody else when you've got a really compelling argument right here? And then they don't even bother addressing that.
Nope. And as we mentioned on Hot Takes, the whole thing with Lyra Valkyria. I think someone mentioned in the comments that she's had the belt, 6 weeks or something like that? It hasn't been that long.
I think it's been a month.
A month?
Yeah.
A month before her first title defense?
Yeah.
I mean, still. Yeah, a month isn't that long, but at the same time, you could, over the course of that month, you could have developed a more well-defined character on TV.
Yeah.
Had her involved in, I know she's involved in a feud with Ivy Nile, but I don't sense that they're telling a story with Lyra as champion.
Everybody should be champing at the bit to get their hands on that title.
Yep.
It's new, it's fresh. You want to dethrone the first champion, and she should be kind of like in the center of that particular vortex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And finding out what it is now to be champion. Instead, they have her lose an Elimination Chamber qualifier matches.
And being in the Rumble for 5 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, man, there's a lot that's left to be desired when it comes to the women's division. And it does speak, I think, to an overall, creative lull here for WWE. Now, maybe everything will kick up another gear come Elimination Chamber. Let me ask this. Who do you think was asking about if they're a heel or if they're a good guy or bad guy?
That's a good question. Do you have a name in mind?
I can think of several, to be honest with you. Zoe Stark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's some that are like, okay, we solidly know exactly where they are. It's like, you understand at this point, for example, even like Tiffany Stratton, more of a good guy than bad guy, that makes sense. There are some characters who you can kind of see. It's like, obviously Chelsea Green's supposed to be a bad guy, but she's so loved by the crowd that I feel like they're going to turn that at some point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Charlotte is sort of on her own. Charlotte's on her own plane of just being Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like they're going to, I mean, in that situation, you do have kind of an easy story to tell. The veteran who's done it all and the new guy with Tiffany. Like that's sort of like a different variation on the good guy, bad guy thing, Yeah. We got a new channel member here. I'm sorry, a re-upped channel member, Mr. Noob, says, for every wrestler that gets a push, someone has to get a pull. Who are you pulling for the women's push? TV time is valuable every single second. Yeah, it is valuable every single second. I don't agree that you have to pull somebody whenever somebody gets a push.
Yeah, I don't think that has to be the case either. No.
I think you can tell compelling stories for a lot of people. I think we've seen that before.
Yep. No, I don't think you have to give someone less TV time just to give someone else more TV time. You just have to budget the time better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Anyways, before we continue on, man, real quick, the March Predictions Challenge is a mere 9 days away.
Wow.
9 days away, yeah. With Elimination Chamber, it begins and then it concludes the next week at Revolution. I got to make that hat. I got to make the next hat.
You have
inspiration. Of course, Ram Your Mommy is our current Predictions champion. And I'll be sending this out very, very shortly to Ram Your Mommy. I got to check the DM, see if they've reached out yet. But of course, that's all prelude to the WrestleMania Predictions Challenge, which the ultimate prize of a bootleg CM Punk title from Pakistan. Let me get it.
Could be yours. You get a hat too.
You also get a hat as well.
Yeah, not just title.
I should try to say on the hat. I should try to like emulate some blood spatter because if you touch this title in the wrong area, you might get some bloodletting.
Yeah, you could puncture your skin.
Yeah, but I mean the spinner kind of works.
It does. It does work.
It does.
It's weighted so that
you gotta be careful though.
Yeah.
You put your finger in it while it's spinning, you might lose finger.
Yeah, it's like sticking your finger in a fan.
Yeah. So dangerous title here for the most dangerous game, the WrestleMania Predictions Challenge.
There we go.
By the way, you can get to the WrestleMania Predictions Challenge.
Oh, sorry.
By clicking join right here, youtube.com/Steven Larson, channel memberships, patreon.com/Steven Larson, the Friendo Club setup. It's $5 a month anyway you get it. Get access to the questions, and of course, bonus episodes as well. All right, man. AEW Dynamite this week. A boom or a doom, Larson?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I thought the opening segment, while it was long, was really good in terms of exploring the character dynamics between MJF and Hangman Page.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool segment.
I thought that was really good, and the way they're approaching Hangman's face turn is logical. Has an inciting incident. Is causing him to reflect on his past deeds, and now he's wrestling with who he wants to be. And I think having him face off against MJF at this juncture in that story is a really good move.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a strong feud that is the kind of thing AEW should be focusing on. At this point, you've built up some talent that has accomplished quite a bit in the company, and you need that talent to be. Yeah, dude, I'm looking up and down the Dynamite card. I kind of watched it in a wonky way, so I was like, "Oh, was there anything weak in the show?" And there really wasn't anything weak in the show.
No,
they're actually focusing on the shit they should be focusing. I mean, check this rundown out. I'll say this though. I do think, as is the case usually with MJF, I thought that segment was like probably 30% long.
Yeah,
thought they could have cut out a bit of that because it was a really long segment. But then you have Toni Storm, more talking, but you have Toni Storm with a really good promo. Roderick Strong versus Orange Cassidy for the international title. That was a really good match. Two wrestlers that I really like. Ricochet's promo I thought was really good.
His promo seemed in a lot of ways very steeped in old school pro wrestling promo delivery.
Sure, yeah.
Like really.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that negatively. It just really struck me as, all right, he's been watching a lot of like 80s wrestling promos.
Sometimes you need some let me tell you something. Sometimes you got to drop the let me tell you something. I think that's good. You got Hobbs versus Big Bill. That was good shit. Statlander versus Megan Bayne. That was good shit. I thought the thing afterwards was weird with Thunder Rosa.
But it was weird. It was kind of weird because she was like faking she was going to swing on Megan Bayne. I think the idea was Thunder Rosa was trying to make Megan blink, like step back, but Megan wasn't gonna. Even with the idea that she could take a chair shot to the head, it's like whatever, go ahead.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I think that was the idea, but yeah, it came off kind of awkward.
yeah. It was a bit on the weird side. But yeah. Otherwise, man, I thought we got Gabe Kidd coming up on Collision. There's a couple things going on in Collision this week that I'm like, oh, I'll check that out. Max Caster's really turned around on me, man. I freaking love that guy. I think he's hilarious.
He's found a way to take his naturally, from a character perspective. I don't know him as a person.
Yeah.
Although, look at his social media activity sometimes. He's good at presenting himself as a very annoying individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
And this character really plays into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like that stuff. So yeah, no, I thought it was a decent episode of Dynamite. I think that they're going to need a lot more of these kind of episodes to really get to.
I mean, it's two episodes in a row now that have been pretty solid. So again, if they focus on what's working, the Death Rider stuff was all kind of kept to one segment. But again, even with that, like I thought,
I didn't even think that was that bad, to be honest.
No, it wasn't that bad. Cope's bit was fine. I like Willow calling out Death Riders.
Yeah.
Maybe it seems like her and Marina are going to have a match sometime soon. And that's one of the things we've been clamoring for regarding the Death Riders thing is expand the scope.
You know why I like the Cope Mox? Well, I'm not going to say like this is something I'm like really like invested in. But the thing that I appreciate about it is that it's very much WCW Netflix. This is the old guys division. Now maybe they should come up with a different title. But you got the old dudes, and that's the thing about it is that Cope and Mox kind of works because they're them old dudes. Jay White feels like he does not belong anywhere near this stuff.
Yeah, well, it's partially because he's cast as sidekick, and that should not be his role.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. This is grizzled old former WWE division right now.
Yeah.
Not, Jay White, who should be up there in the main event and future of the company. Like, he should be involved in stories that advance his character and continually push him up the card instead of sidekick to Cope.
Somehow, like, I don't know why this math works, but like, I don't know. Cope has never been the most interesting dude in the world, and Mox isn't terribly interesting. And yet when they're in a feud together, somehow I don't know why it works. It's like they're two sides of the same coin. I don't know. Maybe that's why.
Well, it's working because there's not anything like 20-minute segments involving them. It's all pretty quick stuff. That's a really good point too. Yeah. That's what it is. If it was 10 minutes of Cope talking, then Mox interrupting, and 8 minutes of Mox talking,
it's pretty efficient.
We would be pulling out our hair.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, not that, look, this is funny, but like, what happened to Jeff Jarrett? I'm not even saying this as like, I'm not complaining. I'm just sort of curious. It's like, do you think they were just like, oh, this is not working. Let's just, get the big, yoink staff out.
Like, here's the thing. I feel like there is a place to tell that story, and there's a way to do it that is more efficient use of time to tell that story in relation to everything else.
How about Ring of Honor? Put him in there against Collision, Jericho.
But the idea that Jeff Jarrett's going to be involved in a 10-minute segment in the year 2025, it's too much time dedicated to that. That should be a story that takes up 2 to 3 minutes a week when there's not a match involved.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the issue. It's all about balancing the time and budgeting time. There's too much time budgeted to the Jeff Jarrett storyline. If it was like one of those stories that's kind of going on, kind of on the periphery, and then eventually somehow gets the title shot, gets obliterated by Mox, and then that's that.
He worked so much better as like them group of veterans who are just sort of clowns on the side. That's how he works best. We don't need serious Jeff Jarrett. We don't need him coming out and being like, I want a world championship. Okay, buddy, it's not 1995 anymore, and this isn't your dad's promotion. That's not going to happen.
It's a situation where I feel like where they tried to milk a story when it really should have lasted all of 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He declares, maybe he gets an opportunistic win in the casino gauntlet. He faces Mox, gets wrecked, and that's it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's the extent of it.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, all right, we'll tell the story of Jeff Jarrett. I'm guessing Tony Khan, fan of Jeff Jarrett Jeff Jarrett's had a long career in the pro wrestling world. Out of respect for Jeff, we'll tell a story about your last rodeo as it is. But ultimately, we're going to do this to get heat on somebody else. Yeah. That being Mox. But when you drag it out so long that the storyline gets heat for its existence,
for merely being a thing,
that's a problem. Then
it is.
When you try to do the match with Mox, and Mox wrecks Jeff Jarrett, people are like, all right, fine. Story's over. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than having the intended effect of, oh my gosh, Mox just annihilated this beloved veteran in AEW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
that's why they should have done like a 3-week.
I like that I referenced USWA and not like literally the promotion he owned that he made himself champion in multiple times. TNA.
Yeah.
USWA is a funnier reference though.
It is. Deeper cut.
Yeah. So anyways, as we mentioned, let's go ahead and dive into it. MJF and Hangman Page open the show with a face-off. MJF comes out. Well, they both come out. MJF talks first, talks about here's one of my pet peeves in wrestling. When anybody opens up a promo referencing something that happened 6 years ago, and it's like, I get it, but it's like when somebody says, I'm going to tell you a story. It's like, oh God, we got to sit down now. We got to strap ourselves in. It's like when Darby would come out and he was like, I remember back when I was living in my van down by the river. I'm like, oh, here we go. We're going to hear a history lesson.
In some instances, I would agree with you. This one, it felt like MJF was referring to an inciting incident that led to his, a rise in status in AEW.
Yeah.
And also, like, Page losing his first title shot was a very pivotal story beat in his story, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in that case, I don't mind this. If it's like when Darby just says, I got a story to tell back from 2019.
Darby did it like several weeks in a row.
Yeah, that's kind of his thing.
Hey, Brody, remember when you were sleeping on my couch?
And it provides backstory as opposed to, this is a pivotal moment in the story we're telling.
Yeah.
That's the delineation in my mind. Because I feel like this was more, this is a pivotal moment in the story between these two dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he talks about the first Double or Nothing. He says the first match was a casino battle royal. He says, I was on the verge of winning that biggest opportunity in my life, and you screwed me. You cheap shot me like a gutless worm. He says, so I scratched and clawed my way back to the top, and I did so by beating some of the biggest names in pro wrestling. You think about your favorite wrestler, I beat him. And I'm like, Lexus King, you beat Lex? Oh, he probably did beat Lex.
He probably did. I'm pretty sure he did. I think that was a main event of a Dynamite.
I think you're right about that. Yeah. He says, I will say, looking down on my Dynamite diamond ring, he says, I struggle to remember who I beat to win this for the first time. He didn't actually struggle because it was Hangman Page. He was like, oh, that was you. He says, I went on to become a 6-time diamond ring champ, main event and won the biggest wrestling event of all time, a former international champ, best and longest reigning AEW champ of all time, greatest wrestler on earth. Do you know why? Because MJF, blah, blah, blah. And then Page says, why are you talking to me like I don't know who you are? I know who you are and what you've done. You're 28 years old, already have a history-making career. But when you list your accomplishments, you sound angry about them. All that, and you can't even be happy. It's because there's still something you haven't been able to win from them. And talks about the crowd. And MJF gets him a little triggered. He says, shut your mouth. He says, I don't give a damn about them. He says, you've had everything handed to you because these schmucks decided one day that you'll be the main character. He says, you, the guy who drank a man's blood. Crowd starts cheering for every horrible thing that he mentions that Hangman Page has done. Attacked veterans in the locker room, put a syringe into a human being's face, a man who was vile enough to burn down another man's house, but he's the good guy. He says, just ask them. They'll say Hangman did nothing wrong. These morons will chant cowboy shit at the top of their lungs. Everybody loves you, but I got a question for you. After everything you've done, do you love you? Did you love yourself after you ended the career of your mentor, after you demolished that talentless hack, Christopher Daniels? And that triggers Hangman. He says, don't you dare. Talks about Christopher Daniels, how great he is. He says, he died a warrior's death. He says, he's the best of us. Don't ever forget it. He says, if your career ended tonight, what would they say about you? Juxtaposing with Christopher Daniels, who everybody loves. He says, would they say that you're a credit to our sport, or would they say you're an opportunist, a selfish coward, the man who took every shortcut you could because you thought it would win their admiration? He says, you asked why after everything I've done, these people seem to care about me. He says, I'm not going to be so arrogant to understand, and I'm not going to put words in their mouth. but I'll speak for myself. I know what's right and I know what's wrong, and I tell the truth about my life. He says, in my life, I've probably lied 100 times, but I've never lied to them. If I've had a problem, I faced it head on, eye to eye. I didn't run from it, and everything I had, everything I worked for. Tag titles, world title, a family that stood by me unconditionally. I worked for it. It was not easy. He says, you spent 5 years cheating your way to the top, and anyone in your way, you tell them you were better than them. And I hope for your sake, there's a part of you wondering if it's true, because it's not. And I think deep down, you know it. MJF sort of laughs and he mocks him. He says, did I need to win fair and square on my way to the top? History books don't care how you get the job done. I earned everything. I can't say the same thing about you. He says, before the doors of this company even opened, the powers that be decided they were going to prop you up. You came walking into this company with all the buzz in the world. All I needed was a scarf and a mic. I walk, talk, look better than you, and I'm better than you. Name one thing you do better than me. Name it. Page says, I am real. Talk about existential. Oh, my God. I'm real. Page drops his mic, glares at MJF. MJF says, you know what? You could be the main character all you want. I got no problem being the bad guy. And so they start talking shit. Security gets on the apron. MJF spits at Page. Page goes after him. MJF takes off. Security holds back Hangman. Page takes out security, but then Christopher Daniels, a higher power, comes to the ring. Page has to stop himself from hitting him. And Christopher Daniels says, this is what I was fighting for. Don't listen to him. I know who you are, and you know who you are. Understand. So, big old existential crisis for the Hangman.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's. I thought this whole segment was great in terms of getting into the character motivations for both Page and MJF.
This is the best MJF stuff we've seen since CM Punk.
Exactly. When MJF's put in a situation where he has to not just do the low-hanging fruit type stuff, he can do really good work.
And I think there's here's the funny thing, dude, is that I think that there's totally a recognition of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they've referenced it.
He's referenced it.
They've referenced it.
In his,
yeah.
Like towards him too. Yeah.
But so often there is, it's real easy to put this on the performer, but so often, pretty much every time, if you're not given something to work with, you got to revert to something. And that's when you see him with the Jeff Jarrett stuff, and he seems so checked out because he knows that it's not good. So what is he supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, Larson.
Yep.
So yeah, but no, really good stuff. And then later on, it's made official: MJF versus Hangman, booked for Revolution. Who wins that match?
Now, if they really want to put Hangman in kind of a moral quandary, they'll have a situation where that Dynamite diamond ring is in the middle of the ring, waiting for him, or just there for him to pick up and use, and he has to ask himself, "Am I going to use it to win, or am I going to stand on principle in this instance?" And if he stands on principle, then he has to lose.
Yeah, they got to do a thing where
if that situation takes place.
I mean, if the whole core of this is MJF deep down needs to understand that he's not better than a lot of the people he's beat because he's cheated, MJF's got to win, but it's going to be empty to him.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we're ever going to see any lasting change with MJF. It'd be nice. But number one, this is clearly a feud that can go on to Glendale, Arizona to Double or Nothing in May.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the reverse of that, where what you're saying goes down in the first match, and the next match, MJF has that opportunity. And because he's so gotten to that he can't win straight up, then Hangman gets that win.
Mm-hmm.
Because MJF elects not to take that road.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe there's some sort of respect there or whatever, because Hangman's like, hey, you lost, but at least you did it on fair terms.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. I'm not booking this shit.
Yeah. But I mean, based on this segment, all that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Toni Storm talked about winning the title at Grand Slam. She comes to the ring with Luther, picks up a mic, and says, "This whore you adore, this slut you can't rebut, this tramp is your new champ."
Wow, Larson. Somebody clip that, please.
On the other side of the world, in front of friends, family, and former lovers, I faced the from hell. A woman who broke my heart, took my title, and ruined my soul. Mariah May, you sick bitch.
Wow.
But Mariah, I'm so proud of you because you gave me the fight of my life, and then I beat you with my small package.
Here we go. This is such good shit.
It is really
Tony
good.
is the best.
They say the best things come in small packages, but darling, you should have worn protection because I railed you with the biggest package there ever has been. Mariah has been beaten, exiled, and compromised to a permanent end. Now it's time for a cheap plug, so she looks at the camera.
She used the compromise to a permanent end, dude.
Turns the camera and plugs, it's called Queen of the Ring, right?
Man, that movie looks amazing. Yeah. That movie looks great.
She continues, as for this championship, if I'm going to be the best, then I need to face the best. Women of wrestling, lend me your ears, because whether you're here to stick your chin up or your tits out, or you're Chris Statlander or Willow or even Wendy Richter, if you want to go face to face or lip to lip, I'm not hard to find. For God is a woman and her name is timeless.
Oh boy, that was amazing. That was fantastic. Tony is the best.
He is.
I'm assuming they're gonna run back Mariah and her at Revolution.
Your suspicions, are probably pretty accurate. Yeah.
Oh, was Collision already taped?
Yep.
Ah, there you go. There you go. All right. Cool, man. Cool. I might have to watch Collision this weekend. So we also had the guy who's gonna lose to Takeshita because Kenny's gonna beat Takeshita match happen with Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong.
So Roderick Strong was the guy who lost to the guy who's going to lose to Takeshita, who's going to lose to Kenny.
Who's going to lose to Kenny, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We had a Roderick Strong promo in advance. It says, Orange, we're destined to dance forever. I get your friends with Kyle O'Reilly here. They're in the conglomeration together.
Still are. Apparently the conglomeration is still a thing. Yeah, did what Kyle said here in the same interview.
Kyle's doing, I'll be honest with you, somehow, some way I missed this one. Kyle's doing double duty?
So Roddy says, I'm going to beat you. And I'm going to beat Takeshita. I'm going to face Kenny. And then Renee asked Kyle about the conglomeration.
Oh, snap.
And Kyle says, conglomeration is more of like a way of life. We love to hang out. Orange is my buddy. But Roddy is going to is about to go break your back.
Oh, wow.
And then Cole says, no matter who is friends and who's not, Roddy's going to whip Orange's ass, and that is undisputed. And that played out during the match where Orange goes early on, hugs Kyle, doesn't hug Adam Cole, and then later Roddy comes out, hugs Kyle and Cole, and then Orange comes out one more time and hugs Kyle one more time.
Yeah.
Anyways, Orange gets the win here. This is a really good match. They got tons of time, too.
Yeah, they did. And it was a really good match. So afterwards, Tony Schiavone goes to interview Orange Cassidy. Orange says, if I beat Takeshita, I'll be the greatest international champion of all time. No,
that's what Tony says. That's what Tony says to Orange.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Tony
doesn't say anything.
Yeah. And then the brown note hits. Don Callis comes out. Don says Orange is going to tell everybody that he's the greatest international champion of all time. But to me, you're nothing but a loudmouth punk. Called him a redhead hippie. He says, get him. And then Mark Davis and Takeshita get Orange Cassidy. They hold him up so Callis can kick him. But then Kenny Omega rushes to the ring to make the save. Gets overwhelmed by the numbers. Orange sends Davis out of the ring. Takeshita looks for a Falcon's Arrow. Orange counters with a stun dog. Kenny falls with the V-trigger. Orange hits Takeshita with an orange punch. And then Callis family beat feet. And then Kenny picks up the international title, holds it up.
Yeah.
And then Orange looks at the international title. He's like, wait, you got that? He's like, you're going to get that?
You're going to get that in the end, but I'm not going to.
I'm not going to get it again. For now.
Got it twice already, Orange.
Yeah.
Then Ricochet. He had a promo. He comes to the ring. He's wearing Jimmy Rave's robe.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, you know what? Because the crowd's booing him. So he says, you know what? I'd be angry and bitter too if I had to live in Phoenix. It's basically a poor man's Las Vegas. Says, I got a helicopter that's going to take me out of here as soon as I am finished because much like Kevin Durant, trying to get out of this town as soon as possible.
Ooh.
And he says, since these people are ungrateful, I'm going to talk to the people at home. So he says this into camera. What you need to understand is that all of this booing, it doesn't matter because when you boo a winner, you boo to avoid a nothingness because Ricochet is a winner. And I proved it when I pinned Swerve to the mat. I've been proving it since I came to AEW. I whooped Swerve, Darby, Commander. Winners always have something to show for it, and I have something to show for my success, referring to the rope. He says, I'm not just content wearing this, though. I came to AEW to wear titles. Ricochet is not just another name on the roster. He's the name on the roster. I came to win and to win gold. So that is where my sights are set for 2025. I want to be a champion in AEW. Ricochet will be champ in AEW because I'm too damn good not to be. So Prince Nana comes out. No swerve.
Yeah, no swerve.
He says to him, I know what you're thinking, but this isn't that. I wanted to talk to you one-on-one, so I asked Swerve to stay home. We've been beefing for the last couple months. I don't know where that's going, but I know you're wearing something that doesn't belong to you. 3 decades I've been in this wrestling business, in the ring, outside the ring, making champions, making history, and that robe has a lot to do with it. That robe represents pride, integrity, those that I've walked with and those that we've lost. Anyone who wears that robe has honor and bestowed upon the opportunity to be great. And I never gave you that honor. Ricochet, if you're that winner that you say that you are, just do me a favor and give me the robe back. So Ricochet smiles and asks Nana, oh, you want your robe back, huh? And then really leans in. So he's basically talking directly into Nana's ear and says, take it.
Ha-ha.
Goes, what's the matter? Are you going to cry? You're not getting your robe back. Ha-ha! And then he leaves.
Man, where was this Ricochet and WWE, man? This was good. This is good shit. This is really good shit. I think we were both advocating for this Ricochet and WWE.
Yes.
What the heck?
Yes.
You know who
his character in WWE never really went beyond really good wrestler.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And having cry face a lot. Like when Drew McIntyre said, shut up. He was like,
yeah. Well, when your character is good wrestler, like where from a character do you come back?
You got nothing.
Yeah.
Also, Momo Watanabe. That was a mouthful. Momo Watanabe. There we go. Chooses Mercedes Moné because she won that one match in New Japan. First, though, Mercedes had a backstage interview. She's very excited. She's very happy. She said, I don't want any interruptions and no more puppets. There's no stopping the money train. And then Renee's like, yeah, no more interruptions, no surprises. Here's an interview with Momo from Grand Slam. And she's like, I'm going to challenge Mercedes at Revolution. And it goes back and Mercedes like, the hell was that? I said no surprises. She says, Momo, you want to stop the money train? The money train says, you need to show up to Dynamite and say it to my face.
They did a lot of these really short backstage interviews that were really efficient in terms of advancing the story beats they need to advance.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And not a single one of them overstayed their welcome.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like they had the aim to do something, they did that specific thing, and they moved on with the show.
Yeah.
Pretty efficient use of time. We had a really fun street fight between Powerhouse Hobbs and Big Bill.
Man, boy, that table spot was gnarly.
Yeah, that was rough.
Ooh.
A lot of really good stuff here. Of course, the backpack full of bricks came into play. Hobbs hit Bill with those. Bashes his head into a bunch in the ring steps, which had been set up on top of the stage, and then pushes him off the stage to this table covered in barbed wire. And Bill tries to get out of it to beat the 10 count, but his arm is all wrapped up in barbed wire. He can't get up. Hobbs gets the win. Really fun match, though. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. It was a blast.
Also a lot of fun. Chris Statlander versus Megan Bayne.
Yeah, this was rad.
This was fantastic.
That spear was something else. I love the way Statlander sold it because it's like she just got hit by, it's like she just got stuffed. You know, too many times people do like a big thing, but she just was like,
yeah. And it's a bummer that the finish went down the way it did, and that Penelope Ford comes out and knocks Statlander off the top rope so Bayne could hit the F5. I understand they want to protect Statlander.
You got to protect Statlander.
Same time though, this match was really good, and a clean finish would have felt like a satisfying end to a really good match.
How do you do a clean finish here, man? You got to protect both people. Come on now.
I mean, I don't know.
When I saw Penelope come, I was like, oh, thank God, they're going to protect the finish.
But then, anyways, so Penelope gets in the ring and starts hitting Statlander with some punches, while Megan Bayne just stands around and watches, and Thunder Rosa comes in the ring with a chair. And so this bit's a little awkward because there's a bunch of crap talk.
It was a lot awkward.
And Thunder Rosa keeps faking like she's going to hit Megan with the chair, and Megan just stands there. So I think the idea is look how tough Megan Bayne is. She won't flinch.
It got even worse because Thunder on one of the like
She
sort
did
of
this.
she did some weird shit with it, and then Penelope tries to get it from her, and there's an awkward tug of war, and then and I'm like, oh my god, like Penelope, let go of that thing, because if you get it, then you got the upper hand. I don't know. It was all very clunky.
The Ops have their first match with the name. They got a Tron, a theme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Apparently they got shirts too. Have you looked up the shirts?
No, I can do that now though.
Right.
AEW shop.
So it's the first match of the night against Patriarchy. Ops get the win here. Nick Wayne's looking for Wayne's World. Instead, Hook catches him with Red Rum, and then Christian thinks about breaking it up, but Joe gets in the ring and just glares at Christian. So Christian slides to the floor. Nick Wayne taps. What? No good?
No.
Is it basically just their Tron?
This looks like like your downtown, midtown little happening area, and there's like a new pub that's opened up called the Ops.
Oh, that's just their Tron. That's the same logo on their Tron.
Yeah. They need to have like one of those hip hop montage shirts.
Yeah.
That's what they need.
Yeah.
Like a 3D render of the Ops that's like all, bedazzled and whatnot.
Yeah.
Platinum.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what they need. I don't know what this is.
It's their Tron. That's literally the logo on their Tron.
And then it says, does their Tron say never lacking?
Yep.
Yeah, that's not good. What is this? There's an AEW. Yeah, it's just now I'm just getting into their AEW stuff. There's a Shane Taylor shirt. I want to see this one.
Oh, Shane Taylor's great.
Oh, that's actually not terrible. That's pretty cool. It's like a skull with like a Shane Taylor baseball hat, and then a couple of brass knuckles on either side, but it looks kind of retro-ish.
Yeah, that's cool.
That looks nice.
Let's see here. You mentioned Gabriel Kidd.
Yeah,
coming to
man.
AEW. He's going to be on Collision.
That'll be cool.
This Saturday, I believe, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this Saturday. What is the Frat House?
That I don't know. I saw that there, and I don't know what that is.
Oh man, they got a Brian Cage shirt. I want to see this one.
Is that AEW's version of Chase U?
Yeah, that could be. That could be.
I have no idea what this is.
It's got to be a Ring of Honor thing, dude.
Yeah, I would think so. Is that something to do with like varsity athletes or something?
Could be. That's a possibility. It's a possibility. Yeah, these shirts are not terribly inspired. Oh God, this Toni Storm one is good. It's like a Top Rope Tuesday limited edition.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, Gabe Kidd's coming to Collision. That's going to be good.
Yeah, that'll be good. Chris Jericho challenges Bandito to a Ring of Honor title match. He's kind of humiliated after losing in a tag match, getting pinned by Bandito.
Can they give up on this whole like TV deal business and just have Bandito win this title? That'd be cool.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So that's happening on Collision.
Oh, that's not going to happen then. That's right.
Murder Machines, that's Brian Cage, Lance Archer's name as a team. It makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They want a tag title shot. They said Hurt Syndicate's not there at Dynamite, but they've heard they'll be on Collision, so we'll see them on Collision.
Hey, that might be a good match.
Oh, the match will be tons of fun.
Yeah,
that'll be tons of
good one. Ooh, that'll be fun, man. I always love when Brian Cage gives promos, man.
Yeah.
Not because they're like particularly good.
He's got to just let that hair grow out for the next 18 months.
I know. I want him to just be a let me tell you something machine. That's the machine he should be. Just let me tell you something's left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, he's a fun wrestler, though, I'll tell you what.
He is. Max Caster has an interview. Renee asks, hey, you thinking of reconsidering your open challenge thing you've been doing? He says, no,
because he's 0-2.
Yeah, he says, no, the strategy is the problem. The problem is I got wrestlers like Hangman Page chasing me around the ring before the match even starts. That's not what the open challenge is about. It's about going eye to eye with the best wrestler alive. This open challenge continues Saturday on Collision.
Mm-hmm.
And then Willow has an interview, and she says, last week I was given 1 minute of valuable TV time, and your husband, of all people, doesn't just interrupt. He attacks me. My 2025 has gotten off to a terrible start. The Death Riders, Mox, Marina Shafir haven't made any better, so Marina comes in, attacks Willow, hits her with the briefcase. Mox steps in. He and Marina walk to the ring. On the way to the ring, Wheeler and Claudio joins them. Mox gets the mic, talks about, oh, I'm champion, so this mic is mine, this ring, camera. You're sitting in my seat. Nobody comes to my house and challenges me. I don't care if they're the rated R superstar. Cope has probably stood down in the dirt in Australia. He's not here. And if he shows up at Revolution, I'm going to finish the job. So Jay White makes his entrance. Pac sneaks up behind him. So Jay White's surrounded by Death Riders. Cope's music hits. Slides in the ring behind Mox and starts beating his ass. Jay hits Pac with the Blade Runner on the stage. Cope hits Yuta with a spear. And then Jay and Cope hit like a Blade Runner spear combo on Claudio. Cope gets Spike from under the ring while Jay gets a chair. Cope takes a swing at Mox. Mox and the rest of Death Riders retreat up to the crowd. So Cope gives chase, finds a microphone up in the audience, and says, Mox, this isn't your arena. These aren't your seats. These aren't your people. They're my people. Mox, you're probably halfway back to your hotel or your hostel or wherever you're staying. But I know you're going to see this. You're a coward. You need your goon squad. And as of now, I'm going to take them out one by one. So when we get to Revolution, it's man to man. I'm going to kick your ass.
Let me ask you something.
Sure, then I'll tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something. Let me ask you something, brother. Is there any chance, we've had this question recently, who's like the Lex Luger of today?
Sure.
Do you remember back in 97, I think, on the road to Starrcade, Lex Luger won that title off of Hulk Hogan, and then like 7 days later at whatever pay-per-view it was,
dropped it, yeah.
Road Wild or something, Hog
something
Wild,
like that,
whatever it was. He dropped it back. Is there any chance, just to mix things up, Edge gets this title off of Mox and then drops it like a week later or something, just to get some buzz going?
I suppose it's a possibility.
Because look what happened in that last pay-per-view. Or not pay-per-view. It was not a pay-per-view. It was a small ring TV special.
Television special, yeah.
Television special event.
Small ring, yeah. Small
ring television special.
I mean, yeah, I suppose it's a possibility.
Just mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, they need to mix it up because it's pretty stale.
Yeah, man. All right, dude. Steve. So, I got this news. You texted me on Tuesday. I think I was setting up for my MF Steve here stream. No, it's not even that. It's Wrestling Juice. That's what it is. And you said, did you see Ricky Starks' new name? And I was like, oh, he has a new name. New name confirmed. Ricky Saints. And they did it by having him sign a contract, never saying his name, awkwardly sidestepping his name, like when he was backstage and Sarah Schreiber says, hey, you. Hey there, dude. And then he does his pose, his Revolution pose, and then he points to the contract, and the camera goes down, and it says Ricky Saints because he's from New Orleans.
He's from New Orleans, yeah.
And so the Saints.
New Orleans Saints, football team there, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, new name, Boomer Doom.
I guess my thoughts are, first of all, whatever he wants to do makes him happy. It's his career, Let him make that choice. As an outside observer, as a fan, if you're going to stay that close to Ricky Starks, why not just go with Ricky Starks? I don't know, because, for example, Ethan Page, he kept his name. Jordan Grace, she's keeping her name, and she's bringing her theme with her. Probably because she owns that theme. I'm guessing Ricky Starks' AEW theme was probably a Mikey Ruckus creation. I'm curious what goes into the decision of who keeps their name and who doesn't.
Yeah, I know.
Because if Ethan Page was allowed to keep his name, Ricky Starks sure as hell should have been given the green light to keep his name if he wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know if this would be a him thing or a WWE thing. I honestly don't know, because you're right. Everybody else does, so why wouldn't he be able to? And I know he has talked about the origins of the name. He's from New Orleans.
Yeah.
But, he didn't say, this is why.
Yeah, Scooter says Jade kept her name, and if it's not her theme, it is pretty close to her AEW theme.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people who haven't made a huge splash like on televised wrestling in America. Like I understand to a degree that WWE says, all right, well, we want to give you a new name because then that's IP that is under our corporate umbrella. I get that. But when someone like Ethan Page, like Jade, like Ricky Starks have been in AEW, established a brand for themselves, you know they have because you hear the pop when Ricky shows up on TV last week. It's weird that if this is the situation where they'd be like, all right, we're going to change your name. You know, like if someone else, and I don't know who it would be, if someone else has the name Ricky Starks trademarked or something, that's a possibility. Otherwise, they just license the name, like they've done with so many other wrestlers. So I just don't know. If it's a Ricky decision, maybe he just wants to come to WWE with kind of a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know until he speaks on it. We don't know.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I've seen, it's like there's Zoe Stark. But I would be really surprised, given that there's a Braun, and Bronson on the same brand.
I don't think they care about that. No.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think, look, my thing is, it's fine. It's fine. It's right. Within 6 months, maybe less, we'll be already, we'll be totally, it'll sound more normal to say Ricky Saints than Ricky Starks. So like it doesn't matter at all. It's the same guy. It is just, it's interesting to understand the business aspect of it than anything. But yeah, I don't know. Let me ask you this. Ricky Saints isn't terribly different than Ricky Starks,
No.
One syllable different, basically. Would you have preferred something wildly different? Something super out there like Trill London? Even though somebody's already allegedly taken that one.
I mean, part of me feels like if you're going to do a change, then just do a wholesale change,
Yeah, right, yeah.
But, again, I don't know the decision-making process behind it, so it's hard for me to say.
Yeah.
Like, is Ricky Starks his Ricky Starks is his name.
That's his actual name?
Yeah, Richard Starks.
Richard Starks. What a great name.
So, yeah, I don't know. Again, depends what plays in the decision, which, we're not privy to, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, the way they were being very, very, very coy about giving him a name led me to believe they probably were going to change it.
Yeah.
But then they did that with Ricochet, too. They kind of waffled on his name for
Trevor Mann.
2 or 3 weeks, and then Ricochet.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, speaking of Ricky Saints, in advance,
it's going to take me a while to say Ricky Saints instead of Ricky Starks.
Ricky Starks just rolls off the tongue. I've been saying it for years now. Speaking of Ricky, though, speaking of almost known as Trill London, Sarah had an interview with Wesley, Tyreek, and Tyson. Wes is like, NXT is so unpredictable. Anything can happen around here. Anybody could show up. Somebody can get beat up in the parking lot. And then Ricky Saints sort of saunters through. At that point, he's still Ricky Starks. At that point, he's still unnamed. Yeah. And Sarah says, "Hey, you, man. How's it going?" And then and Wes is all pissed off because like she just completely ditched the interview. Kind of unprofessional. And he's like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you. Feels good to have a WWE NXT contract. I know you got a lot of questions, but I'm going to answer them in a little bit in the ring." So Ava shows up for Ricky's contract signing. He makes his entrance. He's got his new theme music. I'll have to hear it a couple more times to really know. Look, his last theme song was so fucking good.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, it ain't at that level, but maybe I'll get used to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, Ava introduced him as the hottest free agent in wrestling. Unnamed says, "Thank you. I haven't been here long, but NXT is amazing. But before I sign, there's a couple things I want to get off my chest. Let me talk to you." He says, people talk about making it to NXT as their dream, but for me, it's reality. Main eventing every NXT premium live event, that's going to be reality. And I'm like, not with that women's division, buddy. He says, winning the NXT title, that's reality. And the absolute truth is that I am the man in NXT, and I'm going to do what I always do, and that's show up and show out and let the revolution begin. He's about to sign his contract. Ego comes out. He says, dude, you're a genius. You're just following my playbook to a T. But I wanted to come here and tell you as a friend, there's only one Ethan Page, and I'm right here. And then Ricky says, are you upset because you know the spotlight isn't large enough for the both of us? Because you're wearing those insecurities as tight as you got your jacket on. And Page should know him well enough to know I'm here to take NXT to another level. That's what everybody's there to do.
Yep.
So Page says, you're not going to be able to reach the bar I set when I came to NXT. Ricky's like, we shouldn't do this now. I want to celebrate the signing. He says, and you got your win against Javon. He says, we should be celebrating. And he says, Javon shows he's got that dog in him. People like Javon always come back around to whoop that ass. Anyways, long story short, Javon does do that. He rushes in, attacks Page. Ricky starts laughing about that. He's interrupted again by Wes Lee. Wes Lee comes out, says, I'm going to give you a pass for what happened earlier, but there are rules here in NXT. Number one rule, you don't disrespect me. He says, I'm going to be the first to show you the ropes around here. Ricky's like, is everybody here just angry? He's like, you guys are two peas in a pod. So next week, you and I. And then Wes says, tell him the deal, but it's going to be a one and done. And then Wes tries to sucker punch Ricky, fends him off, clotheslines him out of the ring. And then as security is holding Wes back, he signs the contract, hits the pose, points at the contract, and he officially has a name, Ricky Saints.
Yep. This was cool. Obafemi opens the show with the promo. He gives this new faction crap for attacking him and not finishing the job. Says they hit their best shot. And I'm standing here unfazed. So why don't you fools come out and finish what you started instead? Lights go down. Moose is on stage. He comes to the ring. He and Oba circle each other. And Moose says, I just burst your bubble. You've been living in because I'm the one man you can't rule over. And Oba says, TNA is your bubble, but here I am inevitable. And Moose says, this is happening. And Oba says, just tell me when.
Yeah, man.
There's a couple things they're setting up where it's NXT versus TNA.
Bro, they're doing Worlds Collide.
They're doing Worlds Collide.
I think that's where we're going to get the Hardys and Fraxium.
Yes, because that was the process of that was set up later in the show.
Yeah.
So later
really
on,
feels that way.
Moose runs into Lexus King backstage. And King says, the system that you guys have some big balls. I'd love to trust the system, but I can't because you keep coming to NXT to challenge for our titles. Why aren't you putting up the X Division title? And Moose says, that's nonsense. If you want a shot at this title, all you got to do is ask. And says, that's what you want. I'm going to put up next week and destroy you. And so after that, camera pans over, and Kale and Uriah are trying to convince Andre Chase to take a match with Eddie that earlier in the show they had volunteered Andre Chase for. Yes, Steve.
Wasn't this something that you suggested they do last week?
Yeah.
And then they did it.
Yeah.
HBK, watch is going in Raw, confirmed.
I said, why is Eddie Thorpe beating Trick Williams when could be beating wrestlers like Andre Chase?
That was a very specific name that you mentioned too.
Yeah. And I said because he's dealing with some shit right now. He's down on his luck.
Is it possible that you are, without even knowing it, NXT's brain trust?
I suppose anything's possible. I don't know, Steve.
Seems like it. We had a triple threat match. Jada Parker, Carmen Petrovic, and Kalani Jordan to figure out who's going to be the first person to lose against Stephanie Vaquer since she's won that North American title. Mm-hmm. We had Carmen pulling out the ring here. I'm sorry, the win here. And because what is this? So Kalani's looking for a splash. Ashanti pulls Carmen out to safety. Parker hits Kalani with a superplex, hits the hip drop thing. And then she starts celebrating, and then Ashanti puts Carmen in the ring, gets a jackknife cover, and gets the win there.
Yeah.
Jada Parker's like, "The fuck just happened?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be my win."
Yeah.
Like, he forgot to do the whole pin situation there.
Yeah.
And so Jada attacks Carmen. Kalani attacks Jada from behind. They tumble to the floor. So their shit continues. Fatal Influence comes to the ring and starts beating up on Carmen while Ashanti tries to get security to come to the ring. I'm like, buddy, just go in there and, like, you could be gentlemanly about getting them away from there. And then so JC blasts Ashanti in the back with a chair. Fallon gets a mic, talks shit to Carmen. Stephanie comes out to the ring. Fatal Influence surrounds her. Julia comes to the ring. Brawl breaks out. Jordan Grace comes out to make the save. Grabs a mic, says, I came to NXT to be a part of the best women's division in wrestling, because Triple H didn't know what he's doing on main roster. And now that I'm in the middle of it, I don't want to waste a second. You clearly want to fight. So do we. Tonight, let's fight. That set up our main event.
Yeah, I thought this was all really good. I mean, the only kind of weird thing about it was that Fallon dropped the promo mid-commercial break in picture-in-picture, so we couldn't hear that. But the point, you get the point. But I thought this whole segment was really good.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was really strong stuff.
Eddie Thorpe. So yes, he has a match against Andre Chase. What led up to that is Eddie's in Ava's office. He says he's done with Trick. And so now he's thinking, and Ava says, think less. And that's when Uriah and Kale walk in and invite Ava to their party. Ava says no. And Ava's like, why'd you think it was a good idea to invite the GM to your party? And they're like, oh, we need music. Do you want to DJ our party? And Eddie says, no. I just shocked the world on Saturday, and shouldn't you be in class anyways, referring to them talking to Andre Chase. And they say Chase turned them down. And Eddie says that's for the best because he'll let you down just like Chase you. And Uriah says, Chase would have beaten you in that strap match. He'll beat you any day of the week. And so Kale, on behalf of Chase, challenges Eddie to a match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that match happens. No shock here. Chase loses.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to spell out Chase you, and then stops. Eddie hits him with a chop block, German suplex, and Impaler DDT to get the win. And as Eddie's celebrating, Trick appears on the Tron. He says, you thought we were done? This isn't over till I say it's over, and you're going. If I'm going down, you're coming with me.
I like the story with Trick Williams. He just keeps on losing. After Eddie Thorpe, they're going to have another match. Maybe he'll lose that one too. And then they'll go on and do Dante Chen. I really need a win here, man. So I need you to get in the ring with me right now. Dante Chen comes out, small package. Trick Williams loses that.
Wow.
It falls even further into a hole. He's like, man, I'm just waiting to get called up to main roster. I don't know what's happening right now. And they're like, you're not going to get called up. You're a losing wrestler. Dang.
For whatever reason, I keep going to Shawn Michaels' office, and he's like, you're heading to main roster, but.
Yeah. You gotta get a win. You gotta get a win first, Trick. It's like, I want that title. You're nowhere close to a title shot. You want to try your hand at the WWE ID title? I'll take anything right now. Heartbreak. So anyways, speaking of whatever, the Hardys. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is nuts. Number one, boy, those TNA tag titles look amazing. Those things are so beautiful.
Yeah,
red strap, really bright. Speaking of, sort of didn't mention this. Moose has got that X Division title is beautiful.
Yeah.
And he had a really nice looking Apple Watch band on that had some gold and a yellow strap. Oh man, it looked like $1 million. It was awesome. Anyways, Moose is the best, man. Anyways, Fraxium has an interview with Sarah, and she asks about the attack from the new faction at Judgment Day. And Axiom is like, we're trying to figure out what that's all about. They're interrupted by No Quarter Catch Crew. Congratulate them on their win. And Fraser's like, yeah, I know why, yeah, but if you want a tag title shot, you need to earn it, baby. And then Miles Bourne says, we're going after gold, but not those titles. We want to face the best tag team in the world, maybe of all time. And then Tavion Heights looks right into the camera, and he calls out the Hardys. I haven't seen a lot of Tavion Heights promos, but goddamn, dude, this guy has got the camera charisma, he's got the look, he's got the voice, and he's got the in-ring stuff. This guy is going to be huge if they play their hand right.
Yeah, I agree. So that'll be interesting. It's next week that the Hardys will defend the tag titles, the TNA tag titles against.
That's going down next week, and then the Lexus King Moose match is happening next week. Are they in Cincinnati? Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
I love when they go traveling, man.
Same.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to think. I don't know when it's going to happen because the next PLE is Stand Deliver, right? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But isn't the Madison Square Garden or the theater at Madison Square Garden show? That's the themed episode too. But I don't remember what that one's called. It's a themed episode though.
Yeah, I forget. No, they could make that a big yeah. I don't know.
Roadblock. That's right. Roadblock.
That's Roadblock at the MSG Theater?
Yeah, maybe they'll do the kind of do a Worlds Collide thing there.
That'd be cool. That'd be
awesome.
cool.
Sol Ruka.
Sol Ruka.
And Zarya had a match against Lash legend Jakara Jackson. Sol gets the win after hitting a Soul Snatcher on Jakara. Good match.
Mm-hmm.
Zarya hits a bunch of stuff on Jakara that preceded the Soul Snatcher. Good match, though. And then finally here, Stax takes on Shawn Spears. Before the match, though, we get a backstage bit where Rizzo and Luca walk up to Stax. And Rizzo says, "You sure you want to do this?" And Stax is like, "Yeah, I want to do this." Luca says, "Have you run this by Tony?" And Stax says, "Have you heard from him?" Oh, I haven't. It's time for me to take care of business myself. Ooh. And then Stax goes out there and loses to Shawn Spears.
Yeah, man. Got hit the C4.
Yeah. Not taking care of business.
What happened to Tony D? Is he off shooting that show, the Fast and Furious ripoff?
Is it Wild Cards?
Wild Cards. Is it, so it's like a show about like street racing, right, or something like that, or heist?
I have no idea.
I think they're heist cars. The show should be called Wild Cars.
You're right. Should be.
You can go into the pitch mini. All right, I got an idea. It's about it's like a bunch of street racers.
Maybe it was pitched as Wild Cars, but they misheard as Wild Cards.
That's what I'm thinking. That's
and it just stuck.
That was going to be the punchline of my joke, so thank you for that.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
See, look at this sharing.
You don't have to go. You have to go through this long business here with my stupid jokes. Yeah, just cut to the punchline. Tony D, where were you? Stax got in with the C4.
All right, you want to answer some questions?
I think that's a great idea.
All right, the Doomsta here says, "Who did disheveled better, Andre Chase with his Temu Jordan look or Baron Corbin in his food-stained shirt?"
Dude.
So, Chase, I think those are real Jordans. They were the Toronto Raptors colorway. They don't have the Nike Air on the heel. They have the Jumpman logo.
They had the jump. I was paying because they were hecka clowning those things. And
I was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I was like, those things are legit because, and I was like looking close like this. Yeah. And I was like, no, there's a Jumpman logo on there.
They're legit. They're legit.
Yeah, no, I've seen those.
Chase has a pretty extensive, if you watch his matches, he has an extensive collection of Jordans that he wrestles in.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're heckin' making fun of those shoes. I'm like, those are legit Jordans.
Yeah.
Anyways, I give the edge to Baron because, he had like the mustard stain on his shirts.
Baron killed that gimmick. He killed it. He did such a great job with it.
He let the hair grow out a little bit, grew some stubble in.
That's a ballsy move. He ain't got a lot going on up there, and so to grow it out, it looked kind of goofy. Yeah. Nah, he went all in on that. That was really good. Mr. Cool Car says, "Is it possible to have a 10-person match between Death Riders versus Cope, Jay White, Willow, and FTR?"
Yeah, sure.
You got to do the thing, though, because Willow and Marina are in there. Like,
it's going to be a mixed tag match, yeah.
You got to tag in, everybody backs up. Okay.
Yeah.
Do the thing now.
Sebastian here asks, which other wrestlers should have their last name replaced by the name of their hometown sports team?
Wow. Because now we got to put together sort of like, okay, where are people from?
Yeah.
Johnny Gargano. He's
Cleveland.
from Cincinnati, right? Oh, he's from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns, right?
Yeah.
Johnny Browns.
Okay. All right.
Or Johnny Cavalier. Oh, that's a good one.
That's good.
Johnny Cavalier.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. There's so many options.
There are a lot of options.
Ciampa's from Milwaukee. So you have Tommaso Brewer.
Oh, that's a good one. No, that's a good one. All right, Mercedes from Boston.
Yeah.
Boston, the Red Sox, Mercedes Sox. That's no good. Mercedes Celtics. I don't know. That's not good.
Champ here says Charlotte, but I guess it'd be the change your name to last name to Hornets.
That's good. Oh, there we go.
Hornets.
Maggie says Mercedes Patriot. Yeah. Who's Joe Sola's here? He says, "Who's from Sacktown?"
Cartwheel.
Jack Cartwheel. Apollo Crews is from Sack, isn't he?
Yeah.
Jacob Fatu's from Sack.
Yeah.
Jacob Kings.
Yeah.
Jacob Rivercats.
Let's see here. Okay, Atomic Nerd asks, I got my tickets for Double or Nothing in Phoenix. If you could only go to one live event this year, what would it be? Only one.
If we could only go to one live event this year, what would it be? I don't know. It's probably that Dynamite in Sacramento.
Yeah, I was going to say the Dynamite Collision double taping here.
It's at the Memorial Auditorium, man.
I guess we got to get on that, don't we?
AEW's on fire right now, man.
I know it's the go-home show for Revolution, too.
All right, let's look into those tickets, dude.
I take a look at them every day to check the pricing because it's
where are we at on that?
Pricing.
Whatever we get, I don't care where it is. I just kind of want to be in the front, not next to the ring. Whatever section, I want to be in the front of that section.
I understand.
Yeah, let's put it on the business card.
Let's see what we got here. Go ahead and.
All right, next question. Blue Monkey G says, "Do you think we'll ever get an all-women's paid live event from WWE or AEW ever again? Will we ever get like an Evolution?" I don't think so.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to see it, I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. Because that first Evolution show was great, but I don't see it happening.
Levy JX says, "Will any NXT/TNA championships be won by a member of the other show's roster?" I could see maybe TNA's Digital Media Championship might come to NXT for a spell. I think that's a possibility.
That could be.
I think it's a possibility.
Does Steph DeLander still have that title?
Yeah, but I think she has Mance Warner defend it, maybe? I know she has it, but I don't know what the situation. If Heather's around, she'll be able to tell us.
Gotcha. Here, let me pull up a question here. Creamy Beef Tips asks, who would you rather push to the main title, Jay White or Finn Balor? You have to cut the other option, so the other one gets released?
Yeah. No, this is a win-win. Finn Balor gets to the main title. Jay White comes to WWE. Right. Hey, what do you think of the WrestleVotes thing about how Finn and AJ is going to be the Mania match?
Oh, I kind of assumed AJ was going to take on Braun Breaker.
That's what I thought too, but I think Braun's going to do Sheamus probably.
Oh, that could be. So they're just going to do Braun versus AJ as like a Raw match?
A Raw special event. You got to boost those numbers, man. Oh boy.
Yes.
I'm down with Finn, AJ. Who wins that match?
Sure, why not?
Who wins that match?
AJ does, of course. Sorry, Finn.
When you listen to Finn, you eat the pin.
Yep. Dan Bickerstaff here says, am I alone in thinking Roxanne is going to win Elimination Chamber? I'm putting a good amount of effort to build her up the last couple of weeks with video packages, longest time in Rumble, and such.
Holy shit. Roxanne, really?
That'd be cool.
Roxanne versus Rhea Ripley?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That'd be a great match.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah,
it's something different.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. I think we're going to get Roxanne Bailey at some point Mania weekend, hopefully on the WrestleMania card.
Mm-hmm. This is a good one. Broceratops says, Triple H's booking can be boring. What writer, creator from any media would you add to his writing staff to make things a little more fun and unpredictable? Ben Stiller from Severance.
The dude who wrote Succession.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. We've been watching The Americans.
Yeah.
And that's good. I'm going to say whoever does The Americans.
Yeah, that was a decent show. I didn't watch a ton of it, but when I did watch it.
You know what we've realized is that and I don't know why we've realized this upon a rewatch, because we watched it up until like season 4 when it first came out, and then we just sort of stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But watching it now, it's the perfect combination of unintentional comedy and drama, because like they're spies and like they go out and about, do spy missions, and they always have a new horrible disguise.
Yeah, I know the
They
disguises
wear
in that show are
so
so
many
bad.
awful wigs and mustaches, and it's so funny. So like there's a lot of unintentional comedy in that show,
there is.
but it's also really compelling and really well written.
It is.
So yeah.
That was top of the line spy gear. I actually went to the International Spy Museum.
That's awesome.
And some of the disguises they had on display there were not too far removed from what was on the show.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was top of the line disguise technology in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah. The biggest aspect of suspension of disbelief in that show is just how many missions they go on, like on a day-to-day basis, and they still run a travel agency, and they still have like a normal home life.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. Maggie says, I sound like a broken record, but AJ Lee, if she's available, she writes comics now. Really? She writes a Glow comic?
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't know that. That's cool. I got to check that shit out. That's neat.
That is neat. Let's see. Bailey Fuller asks, why do you think AEW underutilizes their championships? Trios and TNT title are rarely seen. Tag team champs seem like an afterthought, and Continental seems like it's only there for November. I just think that this, in terms of creative, they're getting better, but obviously they still have a lot of work to do. I don't feel like a lot of people really value those championships.
Yeah, I mean, the tag situation is not great because nobody's going to come close to the Hurt Syndicate. And they feel like now they're just sort of, so they're defending it on Collision, I think this week, against Archer and Cage, or unless it's just going to be like, we're going to be there. They won them on, did they win them on Dynamite or Collision?
Yep, Dynamite.
They won them on Dynamite? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They should have had the Hurt Syndicate drop at least a promo on Dynamite to hype up Collision instead of having Brian Cage hype that up.
Well, as Brian Cage said, Hurt Syndicate weren't even there.
Yeah, I know, but you could have done a little cinematic. Give us a Matt Chat question from Bobby Lashley.
Cameron here says, do you think anyone or someone currently working for TNA will be in this year's Hall of Fame? Cameron says, I could see Santino being selected. Hardys feel like a possibility, but maybe they'd be a headliner. At some point in the future, the Hardys are going to the WWE Hall of Fame.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's just not a matter of if, it's when.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think it'd probably be a year where there might not be like a Triple H going in as the headliner. Yeah.
So wait, does the Glow comic pick up from where it left off? Because I think it. When is this? Oh, this is back in 2019.
Ah.
Well, that's cool. I know I'm sad because I think that Glow show ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard too. Jack here says, who do you guys think will be the next Roman? Jack says, I generally think a guy like Braun Breaker, but I don't think he has the nuance.
Oh, it took Roman forever. It took Roman a long time. So you got to give... Dude, I honestly think Braun Breaker does have the nuance. If you listen to him, he's kind of soft-spoken, but then he can rev it up.
Yeah.
So I think if they flesh out Braun Breaker's character over an extended period of time, but you got to put some work into it. I think he could be that guy. I totally think he could be that guy.
Got to tell some interesting stories with him.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there's a couple people who have. I think Carmelo could be if they get him out of the Dolph Ziggler territory.
Yeah.
I think he's got everything. I think he's got all the tools. And then, of course, 10 years from now, I'd love to see Finn Balor in the Roman Reigns role. I think it'd be great. I think young, up-and-coming wrestler Finn Balor could be.
Sky's the limit.
It really is.
Maggie says Glow had shot one episode of the final season, but they axed it because it was peak COVID.
Oh. Damn it. Just give him a fucking 2-hour movie. But did the previous season, did it end on a cliffhanger? That'd be a bummer.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for... Oh, she says it did.
Ah.
Damn it. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday. Oh, we're done. So count out. It's going up on Mondays now.
Yeah, we're going to try it there, see how it does.
So tomorrow evening, we've got our SmackDown review, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Nuno in our YouTube chat says, so no AEW-related thumbnail or video title. Au contraire, the video title does in fact say AEW Dynamite and NXT review. So they did make the title.
The title.
Look, we do what we do in the thumbnails to try to sell them views, man. That's what we got to do. All right? It's not summer camp. Not everybody gets to participate. All right? So that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.